Here we are, session 2. I'm back with Dr. Rob Murray.
Session 2.
That first one, if you listen to it, that got a little too real. You're poking a little too far there, Rob. Just back it off, man. Let's keep it general.
Sounds good.
No, let's get specific. We're still talking about grace in the gray. And, yeah, where do you want to pick up?
Well, for those that didn't get onto that session, it's all about a more loving way to disagree.
Yeah.
Go
back and listen to the other
You wrote a new book.
I did.
Well done,
Grace in the
Mike.
Gray.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You did it. Well, where do you want to pick up?
I guess if you write a really crappy book, it's not a lot of work. It's kind of what I say about parenting.
Is that a testimony or is that...
Actually, guys, this is really easy.
All right, let's do this. I'm thinking the best way, because you don't do as much fiction, nonfiction as me. We have to stay in your stories, and I'll tell you why. I actually want that. I think we have to come into your world, and you've got a lot of stories in your book that there was some that were just really, really, really fun, and so I'm looking forward to you all reading. Mike is a great storyteller.
Thank you.
Do you know that?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you are a great storyteller. But I can't even say it. There's a movie,
Well, it's a book first.
Oh, God. No, the movie. I only watch the movies. You read the books.
Les Miserables by Victor Hugo.
So why don't we pick up there? Because I've heard you talk about this over the years. Not the movie, the book. You're right. But what's that have to do with disagreeing?
Les Miserables became my favorite book when I was in high school, which is a shock to a lot of people. Like you, a lot of people don't even realize it's a book, which is shocking to me. But has persisted to be my favorite book of all time. And it is funny, we said this the last episode, but I feel like I have had the most paradigm-shifting moments reading novels, not nonfiction, which is ironic that I wrote a nonfiction book. You would have thought that I would have written a novel then.
Yeah.
But, novels always, they just seem to get into me. And there's this scene in Les Mis, and a lot of people are probably going, oh, I know which one it is. It's where the priest gives the candlesticks to Jean Valjean. Very famous scene. If you're not familiar, go, I don't know, read the Cliff Notes.
It's not that scene, is it?
But it's not that scene.
I know.
Yeah.
You always have a twist on everything. I'm not surprised it's not that scene.
Thank you. My 4 energy is
flattery.
Really loving that you're calling out my uniqueness. But there's a scene, Jean Valjean is on his way across the countryside. He's just received these candlesticks, just been given this pardon from the bishop. And this little boy, Petit Gervais, not Gavroche, who shows up later, but he's flipping a coin, and he drops his coin down this path, and Jean Valjean steps on the coin. Like, okay, where is this going? The boy runs up, starts pounding on Jean Valjean. Give me back my coin. Give me back my coin. And Jean Valjean won't give him the coin. And the boy runs off, dejected, forlorn, screaming. And in this moment, Victor Hugo, the author, says it all starts to become clear to Jean Valjean that he's just been shown this insane mercy by this priest, this bishop. And here he is withholding goodness from this boy. And Victor Hugo says he basically realizes in that moment he has to either let himself be, what are the words? He says, this affront, this attack of kindness, basically, has come upon him, and he must be conquered or conquer it. And I don't know, just as a 16-year-old kid, it was just this shifting moment where I realized I have to let myself be conquered by grace or conquer everybody with rules and law. And I would really go back to that moment as when I started to really understand what I've come to believe is the gospel. And it's really eventually changed the way I interact with everyone.
Well, and in the gospel, you hear that story, lay your life down. What does that mean? Like, and you're describing the opposite in that scene, movie for me, book for you.
That scene's not in the movie.
Shoot.
Yeah, you gotta go to the book for that one.
But it's like, don't we, as much grace as being given, there's something inside of all of us, some human condition where we want to be, we want what's ours, and we take advantage of grace. We want to conquer. We just want more. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about being overcome with kindness, generosity, almost giving yourself to that. So bring that metaphor or that story now to your conversation in your book, The Grace and the Gray. What's that have to do with how we disagree and not disagree?
Right. So if you haven't given yourself over to the paradigm of grace and you're still on a works, law, eye for eye, tooth for tooth paradigm, I don't know how you could have hope to graciously disagree with anyone. We all want to be forgiven. We all want to receive mercy when we screw up. But to offer that mercy and that grace in the same way we received it is oftentimes a tall ask for us. And that's why people go, what's your favorite verse in the Bible? And like you said, I always like to give the wrong answer. I go, Matthew 6:13-14. And they go, what's that? I go, it's right after the Lord's Prayer. Oh, yeah, I know that. What verse is that? Oh, that's where Jesus says, if you forgive other people, I'll forgive you. But if you don't forgive other people, I won't forgive you.
That's your favorite verse?
Yeah, they go, that's your favorite verse? What's wrong with you? I go, nothing confirms my suspicion that God loves me unconditionally like that verse. I go, what do you mean? That seems to confirm the opposite. I go, no, think of the logic. Okay, Mike, you want unconditional love? Yes. Okay. What's the one condition for something to remain unconditional? You can't put conditions on it. It's like, I get unconditional love. I get forgiven everything. But everyone else, I'm holding you to it.
Yeah.
Holding your feet to the fire. And I just love that conundrum of going, if I indeed want to be assured that I'm receiving God's grace, I have to be giving it in the same fashion.
Man, this stuff's not easy.
Well, that's the only place. We're told about blaspheming the Holy Spirit, and people argue about what that means. I think that means outright rejecting Jesus, is what I've come to believe. But the only time we're told, if you don't do this thing, I won't forgive you. The only time Jesus says that is when he's talking about unforgiveness. So I go, shouldn't bitterness and unforgiveness be at the 90% of the sermons we hear about?
Wow.
And it's the thing we excuse the most, it seems. It's like, oh, well, they deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve it.
You don't know what they said about me.
So
I put a whole chapter in here about, right near the beginning of the book, called "Get the Fork Out of Here," which is another story.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
Well, you got to read the book. No, I'll tell you. We're talking about the book. Nothing. So in Ephesians, we're told, let there not be any root of evil, a root of bitterness that grows up inside you. Because if you do, you're going to give the devil a foothold, which is all very strange language.
Yeah.
So I like making smoothies for my daughters. Do you guys make smoothies?
Natalie does. I made one this morning, believe it or not.
You did?
I very rarely make it. I have
it?
jet lag, and I got up at 4, and by 6 o'clock, I made a smoothie.
What'd you put in it?
It's on a need-to-know basis.
Okay. So I found, are your children as nutrient resistant as mine are? You have some more.
I'm nutrient resistant.
I feel like your children.
I'm like your children. My wife makes the smoothies probably like you're about to describe, and I go kicking and screaming.
Your youngest daughter has quite the culinary bent.
She sure does.
She seems like she's ready for
Yes.
it. But my kids, if it's not brown or fried, they're suspicious.
Yeah, yeah.
And I found that the way that I can distribute cellular respiration into their body
Cellular respiration. Thankfully not perspiration.
Yes, the way I can sneak nutrients into them is through this vehicle called a smoothie. So I get this like right now I'm on the Kachava powder. So
Okay.
they're not paying me to say that.
I was going to say, is this an endorsement?
Maybe it should be. Kachava, call me. But I put that in there. I put like coconut milk. I put frozen spinach now because I learned that frozen vegetables actually hold more nutrients oftentimes than fresh ones.
I'll let you know what the research says.
Well, I don't want to.
This sounds like one of your stories.
I don't go down that tangent. The point being, so I'm actually flying out that morning. So I've gotten up extra early because I usually make this big pitcher of smoothie with my Vitamix blender. It's my 500 horsepower Vitamix blender that can blend up a shoe. And I decide I'm going to get up extra early. I'm going to make the smoothie, leave it in the fridge. And my wife, will call me as I'm landing on the plane. Like, I can't believe you did that. You are the best.
I'm going to come back to you, but I have to ask one question. Again, this is my brain versus yours. Do you think a Vitamix can blend a shoe? Like,
no.
You said that, and now I'm like, could we try that?
We'll try later, and we'll let you know.
Okay, all right. Let's come back to your smoothie. But I'm like, could you?
It depends on the shoe, I
That'd
suppose.
Anyway.
So I'm making the smoothie, and my oldest daughter has this spectral quality that she's able to glide into a room completely unannounced and undetected. And at this time, she's wearing this ratty old nightgown. It's been washed 500 times. It's got holes in it, and her hair is all down in her face. And she's glided onto the landing in my kitchen.
Glided.
It's 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'm not expecting to see her. And I'm putting stuff in the smoothie, and I look over, and she's just standing there looking at me, kind of head tilted, and eyes up. And I go, yeah, like that. She startles me. And she goes, can I help make the smoothie, Dad? I go, stop being so Casper and come help me. And then you're going to go back to bed. She's like, okay. So we start throwing more stuff in. Well, I don't realize when she startled me, I was busy forking avocado into the blender. Now you guys, avocado in a smoothie? Yes. Don't knock it till you try it.
I put it in today because I read it in your book yesterday.
Are you kidding me?
So I was like, I'm going to try this. An avocado in a smoothie.
How creamy was it?
It was delicious.
It makes it so creamy.
Yeah, anyway. So thank you for the recipe tip.
You're welcome. So I'm putting it in there. I dropped the fork of avocado into the shoe blending Vitamix blender.
4:30 in the morning.
And she immediately, at this time we were using fresh spinach. So she grabs a big handful of spinach and puts it in, completely disguising the fork. Neither of us see the fork. So we throw the rest of the stuff in, put the top on it. You want to hit the switch, honey? Yeah, I do. She hits the on switch, and this blender starts convulsing. The lights start flickering. Smoke and sparks are coming out of the smoothie. I grab her. I go, ah! And then, I'm not making this up, the fork rattling around like a cobra in its cage suddenly breaks forth through the side of the plastic.
Oh, gosh.
Like the tempered, I think it's like Air Force quality plastic.
Oh, gosh.
Breaks through the blender and just releases smoothie everywhere. I mean, I was almost late for my plane because I was trying to clean it up off the ceiling. I mean, it could have gone through me.
Golly.
So I say that. I go, you're like, what on earth is the point of that? And this is a loose.
No, none of us are thinking that.
No, we're just so enthralled with your story.
No, do tell. Seriously.
So it got me thinking, let there not be any root of bitterness named among you. Okay. A root is down under the soil. It's unseen. And if you have a root of bitterness, what do you got to do? You got to go digging for it.
Yeah.
You got to find it and take it out. And it's interesting. It didn't matter how many nutritious things I added to that smoothie.
There was a
fork in there. Right.
There was a fork.
And I think a lot of us view our relationships this way. Everyone else needs to change, Or give me all the tips, give me all the tricks, how to influence people, how to make friends, how to come across like I'm a nice guy. I see these blogs and posts all the time. At the end of the day, I go, before you try any of that, let's start with your fork. Get the fork out of there.
Yeah.
You cannot have healthy relationships with a root of bitterness.
And do you know where bitterness comes from?
Tell me.
Was that a question? Yeah, that was what's
It
that?
felt like you were going to deliver the answer.
Oh, really? You made me think of the splinters. Did you ever get splinters growing up?
One time I slid down my buddy's unsanded half pipe in his backyard, and I got 37 splinters in my butt.
Oof.
And his mom had to take him out with tweezers.
Oh man, that's a war story. If you've ever had a splinter and you figure, no, I'm just going to leave it, we all know what happens. It just gets so infected, and the smallest little splinter turns into a nightmare. But the bitterness is so often a result of being hurt.
Yeah. It starts like rightfully hurt.
Like I was hurt.
You have a good reason.
I'm just saying, sometimes the fork, you're meant to have forks in your house.
Right.
But somehow it ends up in the wrong place. There's a miscommunication. Something happens, and before you know it, you have an issue. But a lot of us are bitter. I know when I am feeling bitter about something, when I am critical, when I am wounded, when I am, feeling those things, I have to ask myself the question, I wonder where I was last hurt. So bring it back to your conversation. We're in a disagreement. If I've got this bitterness and it's turned into a poison, it can be very damaging to you. But in fact, it's probably because I was damaged, or I'm trying to recover. I need to get that out of my body. You're right. Get that fork out of the blender. Enjoy it for the right reasons. But I wonder how many of us are entering into conversations, fighting to the death because we were once hurt, and we feel like it's our job to make up for the pain that's been inflicted on us or someone else. It's not always just hurt. Sometimes we're angry about something, but we're typically angry about stuff because it means something to us.
Right.
So if I want you, I almost brought up some controversial topics. It's so easy. Immediately you can bring it up, but I'm going to fight to the death because I'm angry about it. Well, I'm sure you're angry about it, but it means something to you. And I wonder why it means something to you. Again, like you were hurt, or you want something.
Or you're scared.
I'm scared.
Afraid. Yeah. And oftentimes when you start having a disagreement with someone and they're rattling, sparks flying, smoke's going, and you're going, I just turned on the switch.
Yeah.
That helps you kind of back up and go, okay, this isn't about me,
and
it's not about this conversation. This is something else. And so you kind of have to turn that inward on yourself and go, hey, if you seem to be flying off the handle, sparking, outraging, lights flickering at people, when they just turn on the power, like, what's going on in there?
Yeah. I heard this from someone I wish I could know. I spend my life wishing I could attribute people who tell me things that mean something. I apologize. But I've heard this saying, if it's intense, it's your own. And I notice, like when I'm going with my kids, I'm like,
that's good. I should have put that in
and
the
I'm like, but I don't know who said it, so you couldn't have.
I could have said, Dr. Rob knows somebody said this.
But think about that. Like, if it's intense, it's yours. Like you just said, oh, wow, they're going crazy. Your blender's going crazy. That's your blender's problem. Let's get off your smoothie, because I had a delicious one today, and I have a new recipe thanks to you. But it's like anytime I feel myself intense about something, I'm like, what is it about me that makes this so intense?
And this is a really great point going forward, is if we don't deal with it, we go, wow, I'm really intense and I'm having this really strong reaction. If we don't do the work, then what we do is we multiply our hurt.
Yeah.
So the thing that started as a small hurt has this snowball effect. That's why you hear things in scripture about like generational sins being passed down. And there was this moment where I was, considering all this, and out of the blue, I just started thinking about my dad. And I said, Dad, my dad was abused by his dad, and his mom. It was so bad My dad actually ran away to the World's Fair when he was 17 or 18.
Mm.
And it's funny, the World's Fair.
Yeah, what is that?
It's just
Okay.
too much to go into. But it was in Montreal. He lived in Boston, and he got this little like scooter motorcycle thing and rode over to Canada and worked the World's Fair. He eventually came back, and I was thinking about this. I said, hey, Dad, you know what's interesting? You never passed that down. That stuff a lot of times gets passed down. Obviously, your dad was hurt. He was hurting. So he raged. He didn't deal with his fork. And so he started hurting you. How did you put an end to it? And he said, oh, I know exactly when. I go, really? It never happens with my dad. He's not usually very succinct. And I said, what happened? He goes, man, we were at this church. I just married your mom. We were in Nebraska. And he was in the Air Force. And he goes, I don't think at the time. Anyway. And the pastor quoted this verse that I just said was my favorite verse, Matthew 6:13 and 14. And the pastor said, hey, if you have any bitterness, if you have any hurt, you need to deal with that. So my dad told me, he goes, so I wrote my dad a letter. I go, oh, I get it. You wrote your dad a letter saying how you forgive him, right? And my dad, his face gets all scrunched. He looks at me, he goes, well, no. I said, no. He goes, I wrote my dad a letter asking him to forgive me for all the bitterness I held toward him.
Wow.
Total ownership on my dad's part, right?
Yeah.
And he said, I said, what did your dad say when he read the letter? He goes, I don't know. I don't even know if he got it.
Yeah.
All I know is the second I put it in the mailbox, all that weight came off me in a moment. And you've heard the old quote, being bitter is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Yeah.
Well, I also heard it said, and I can't remember where I heard it, being bitter is like trying to stab someone with a sword that has to first go through your own soul. Now, okay, so then I conclude this whole chapter, and we'll probably just make this an episode just about bitterness because I want to be really sensitive here because, like you pointed out, Rob, I'm glad you said that. You're right to be hurt.
Yeah.
And in fact, a lot of people, they have stunted issues because they haven't allowed themselves to process that hurt. But if you compound your hurt and it gangrenes into bitterness, you have to find a cure. And I want to be gentle here because some people have been abused, they've been hurt. I mean, my own mom, if you've been listening to my podcast before, you heard my mom's story being assaulted even. And the things that we have to forgive are not fair. Like certain people have to forgive more than others. And I'm not saying it's overnight. I'm not saying it's instant. For most people I know, forgiveness isn't like what my dad said. It's this journey. And it feels like one step forward, two steps back. But forgiveness and reconciliation needs to be the compass we point our boats toward. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Tim Keller said in his book, Forgive, he just pointed this out. I'd never noticed this. But in the book of Matthew, in one place it says, if your brother has something against you, go to him. And then in another place it says, if you have something against your brother, go to him. So he says the impetus of reconciliation always lies on the believer. Ouch. So, and then you can maybe ask me a couple more questions, but I want to tell this last story. I got thinking about this, and I love The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. Have you read it?
I have. Yeah.
One of my all-time favorite books.
I haven't read it like you.
Yeah. If you haven't read it,
Yeah.
throw my book out. Go read that first. And then
Why are you so aggressive?
I don't know. So extreme. man.
Golly, throw it out and
Or put pause. Put a bookmark in it.
add it. I'm sure people
yes.
can read 2 books at once.
That's true. But I was thinking the way he presents The Great Divorce, and I was thinking about this topic, and I kind of got this picture in my mind. Now, forgive me, this is extra biblical, okay?
Okay.
Imagine I'm closing my eyes for this. It helps me.
Yeah.
Imagine
That's fair.
that you die, okay? And you get on the escalator or the beam of light, instantaneous. I don't know how it happens, right? But you end up standing before the pearly gates, and there's St. Peter. He's got the book of life open, and you go, did I get in? Peter beams down at you. He goes, got your name right here, son. Yes, I'm in. As soon as he says it, the gates start opening. Hallelujah. And you're blinded because the light of Jesus' face is flooding out of the gates, and you can't even see. And you're just trying to squint so you can see Jesus. But just as you start to think you can make him out, this shadowy figure silhouetted against the glory, it comes walking out. And then you get confused because as they get closer and closer, you realize who it is. And it's that person. It's the person that you couldn't forgive. And here they are. And you go, maybe in 10,000 more years. And you go to brush them aside and scurry past them. But as you do, the gates slam shut in your face. You go, what's going on? You look back at Peter forlorn, Peter, help me out. What's going on? And he goes, oh, forgot to tell you. You can only go in pairs. And this is your partner you've been assigned.
Wow.
And the person looks at you and they say the most heartfelt, beautiful apology, every word you ever hoped they would say. And they reach their hand out and they say, will you come?
Yeah.
And like I said, that's extra biblical, but what's confusing to me is how many of us justify our bitterness. Like, it's okay to go, I'm not ready to forgive. I get that. But when you double down on it and go, no, I'm going to stay bitter. I go, well, do you believe in heaven? Yes. What if they're there? Well, I'll figure that out once I get there. I go, well, isn't the prayer, let your kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven? Like, if you don't want to get on that train now, you're not going to want to go there. Because it's the prerequisite to be before God is to be in right relationship with him and his saints. So that's kind of my thought.
Golly. Well, I'll give a one spin off this one, and why don't you respond to this? Because I'm going to bring it to disagreeing. So we've talked a lot about bitterness, but it's parallel.
Yeah, that's true. It's not an exact.
Well, but we become bitter through disagreeing. But can't we just say, too, that in those moments of forgiveness, to forgive someone doesn't mean that you get back what you once had. If you and I disagree on a topic, if I want to go there and you want to go there, and we're in pairs and we're just disagreeing, one of us has to learn how to be sad and disappointed.
Yes.
And so part of your discussion is, like, how do I even get through my bitterness? It's actually to be sad that even though there is some form of reconciliation, you have to be sad about what you wished you were going to have with that person or what you once had with that person and you don't have. What people don't realize about all this work is and the research that I have done in the field of emotional intelligence, it's most of our lives are learning how to manage, steward our insides, our emotions. And so I'm just telling you, if I disagree with you, I have to be sad. Oh man, I wish my friend Mike and I were aligned on this, and we're not.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I think so many of us think we have to forgive and everything's fine. No. You may have to forgive. You can even reconcile, but you're going to have to do some work. And that's the gray you're talking about.
Yes.
It's like, dang it. Or maybe we don't get to go either way. We're not going where I want, or we're not going where you want, and now we're stuck in a stalemate. And you know what it feels like to be me? It's not great. I thought we were going to have a good time. So take any conversation that I bring up. Oh, this is important to me. And you go, well, that's not important to me.
Ouch.
What if that's okay? That's fine. I think you're trying to help us say that's okay. I'm just trying to say it's okay, and it's sad, and I'm disappointed, and I wish it was different.
So remember in the first episode, I was saying how we believe this lie.
First session.
Right. We believe this lie that if there's disagreement, that something's wrong.
Yeah.
The next thing we could probably talk about here to close out is, especially in the realm of emotional intelligence, a lot of us, especially if you're listening to this and you grew up in the evangelical church, you were told, hey, if there's disagreement at all, your relationship is unhealthy. And we're told, and if you have these kinds of feelings, something's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel hurt, that's not what I'm saying. Hurt and bitterness is the unhealth from realizing you're hurt. So I have a chapter later on in the book called Make Friends with Your Feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And this has really come to me through you.
Yeah.
The first check-in group you invited me to.
Yeah. Wow, that was a long time ago.
Gosh,
Jeez.
6 years ago?
Yeah.
7?
Yeah.
Group of guys, we get together, and you, forgive me if I'm distilling the message of emotional intelligence down too much, but essentially we got together with our friend who was leading the group, and he put 8 core emotions down on the ground. And I like to call them primary colors. It's like, hey, what are you feeling? Tell me red, blue, or yellow.
Yeah.
Or, hey, what are you feeling? You can only use these 8 primary colors. And for those of you who are listening, that doesn't make sense. It's like, green is not a primary color. Well, how are you feeling? And you say frustrated. Most counselors would say that's not a primary emotion.
Yeah.
Like frustrated's up here. Where's that on the paper? And we would do these sessions, and it'd be, oh, I feel sad and lonely and angry. It's like, oh, that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Well, it gives you it's a common language so that two people can be on the same page. Like if we have the same definition of what a feeling means and you have the same definition, well, then we can connect in the definition.
Right.
It's the same with what your book's doing. You're trying to create an outline, a definition for how to agree or disagree. And
let me ask you, since you have a doctorate in this realm, why is it essential to know what you're feeling in order to learn how to more lovingly disagree?
The neuroscience is coming out to the best of my understanding, and some of that stuff changes.
Rob loves facts.
But
neuroscience.
There's a whole sense that you feel before you think.
Yeah, oh, of course.
And so you would think, well, no, hold on. I think and then I feel. But there's parts of it when you're starting to understand how your body is wired. I'm just telling you, if I walk into a room with you and we're having a conflict, everything that comes out of my mouth is being fueled by what's going on inside of me. And if I don't know what's going on inside of me, it's like I'm operating without all the information.
Yes. I'm so glad you said that. I go at great length in that chapter to talk about what I get pushed back on because I start trying to go, hey, let's do some emotional check-in work. Let's talk about what we're feeling. Because those groups have been so helpful.
Yeah.
We even do it with our daughters. Well, what the pushback is, your heart's deceitful, desperately wicked.
100%.
Who can know it? You need faith over your feelings, Rob.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
What do I say to that?
Yeah.
How many episodes we got?
I know.
No, this is really vital. I don't know why, but God gave you a heart. And if you don't know it, you're operating with half of your system offline. If you're just going to use your frontal lobe, because you have an executive function, but you're not going to get into the rest of your brain that connects to what's going on inside of you, everyone pushes up against emotion because they say, well, you shouldn't be ruled by your emotion. Correct. So the point of emotional intelligence is to become intelligent about what's going on inside of you, not ignorant, not avoidant, and not detached and say, well, God, I loved you with what I knew about you. But David is a man who was connected to his heart. He may have not had all the language, but he tried to connect to what was going on inside of him. If we all of a sudden detach and say, you know what, I want to start acting like a sociopath. And I don't know what to tell you, Mike, but that's what the church is telling us to do.
Yeah.
That's what I work with business leaders every day. Leave your heart, check your heart at the door, check your life at the door. Okay, so detach myself And then when I walk home, I grab my heart, shove it back in, and attempt to walk into my house, and then have no brain.
You still haven't watched Severance yet, have you?
I've watched the trailer like 100 times.
Oh my goodness, you got.
Well, that's exactly it.
And I say in the book, what if we didn't say faith over feelings? Which to some there I go, oh, that's heresy. But we didn't say feelings over faith either. But we acknowledge that they're meant to be in this dance together.
Yeah.
That your brain and your heart are meant to be telling each other so that it's more of like the synergy, faith informed by your feelings and feelings informed by your faith. And I'll give one little story to exemplify this. We were doing emotional check-in work with our band, right? And we're out on tour, and we're sharing. I feel sad today. I feel lonely. I feel great. I feel glad about that this thing happened. Da, da, da. And I get out of the bus, and the tour manager of the other band is walking into the venue with me. He puts his arm around me. Mike, how are you feeling today? What do I say? I go, well, I'm feeling sad and I'm feeling lonely. Thanks so much for asking.
Yeah.
What's his first response? Oh, don't feel that.
Yeah.
Why not? Because it's a beautiful day. We're going to praise God. It's a sold out show. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Give thanks to the Lord. I go, that's all true. But I've been away from my wife and kids for 4 days. If I didn't feel sad and lonely, something would be wrong with me.
Correct.
And I remember he goes, oh, and he just shuffled off. And what I love to tell people who say faith over feelings and they don't want to acknowledge what they're feeling, I say, if that's true, if they're not meant to be in this dance together, then Jesus is a psychopath crying at Lazarus' tomb.
Mm-hmm.
He knows he's about to raise him from the dead. So if sadness isn't a gift to show us that something mattered,
yeah,
and in some sense, even being hurt is a gift to go, oh, that person matters to me enough that what they say takes up residence.
Actually impacts me.
Yes.
I actually have feelings about what they say.
But Jesus is sad. He weeps. And then he goes and raises him from the dead. So in that moment, to me, he's saying, these feelings are a gift, and they're doorways if you get curious about them.
It's 100%. And I'll tell you the faith over feelings thing. I have a new book coming out, which won't come out probably for, and this is not a shameless plug, even though it is. But it'll be probably coming out at the end of the year. And it's actually to talk about how the faith and feelings collide in the church. And here's the reality. I think that's a wrong opposition. It's fear and faith. You don't need faith if you're not, like, there has to be fear in there somewhere. Like, I'm afraid of something, and in light of that fear, I'm going to reach for faith, and that actually equals courage. It's all about courage. I want to be a courageous human being, which says you don't need courage if you're not afraid.
Right, you're just naive.
You're like, oh, it's going to be fine. That's not courage. That's just like, I don't know what that is. I want to know, this is so scary. I'm so connected to how scary it is. Dear Lord, if you do not show up and save me, I will put my faith in you, God, because I'm so terrified. But it's the courage to trust in a God that I can't see. That's the faith that I need. That's courage, not just like, well, I'm not, I'm afraid, but I shouldn't be, so I'm not going to be, and then I'm just going to hold on to blind faith.
Yeah.
And I think it's this. Let's bring it back to your message and close this session or episode, as you call them. I will say what we're talking about is holding the tension, and the church wants either or. And here you are writing a book called Grace in the Gray. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll say the practical, how that all plays out. So what we've all been saying, we've been talking about bitterness, and we're talking about understanding and validating our feelings. And those, for some people listening, probably feels mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
It's like, well, if I validate my hurt, then it's going to keep me bitter. But actually, what happens is when you identify where you're hurt and how you're hurt, now you have a choice of, now I can double down on that hurt and justify that hurt and protect that hurt. And I move deeper into bitterness, or I can acknowledge that hurt and acknowledge the reason I'm hurt is because that person matters to me. And hopefully that acknowledgement moves you on the path of health, which actually starts to reach out for reconciliation.
Yeah.
Thanks, Rap.